My name is Elias Hart, and for 7 years, I've been the silent gold statue that made tourists smile, kids laugh, and grumpy old men drop coins just to see if I blink. But the woman who destroyed everything didn't care about any of the dots. She walked up, pointed at me with shaking fury, and screamed, "The man is watching little girls. He's pretending to be a statue to get close to them." Before I could even react, her voice sliced through the plaza like a siren. People froze. Phones came out. And then the cops showed up. All because of one woman, Karen. But if she thought I'd crumble like her overpriced latte foam, she had no idea who she was dealing with. If you've ever dealt with a Karen who thinks she owns public space, drop your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you want justice served. Statue style. The first time I ever painted myself gold, it felt like coming back to life. I was 31, fresh out of a long stint in a VA hospital. My nerves shot and my soul hollowed out. PTSD had drained me. People didn't understand how hard it was to just exist, so I stopped trying to explain. Instead, I found a stool, a vintage suit, a cheap fedora from a thrift store, and I sat still. The first day, no one noticed me. I sat there for 6 hours. The next day, a tourist kid screamed when I moved my hand to wave at him. His mom laughed so hard, she gave me $10. That was the moment something clicked. Soon, I had a permit, a regular spot at the corner of Harrison and Main in our historic downtown district. Tourists would flock to see me. Kids tried to make me blink. I became the golden man. People took selfies with me like I was a celebrity. I made enough to pay my rent, cover my therapy, and even send a little to my niece across the country. But the job wasn't just money. It was healing. It was art. It was peace. Until Karen showed up. It was a Saturday, busier than usual, full of tourists. I'd been sitting for an hour, nodding slowly whenever someone dropped a bill or snapped a picture. I spotted her out of the corner of my eye. Blonde bob, mirrored sunglasses, and a sour scowl like she'd just tasted bad shrimp. She had a little girl with her, maybe 8 or 9. The kid was bright-eyed, curious, looking around like the world still had magic in it. She saw me, froze, pointed, "Mommy, look, a gold statue." She tugged her mom's hand. Karen followed, reluctantly, sipping her iced drink like it offended her. I did my usual, tilted my head slightly, lifted my hand 1 inch, just enough to make the kid giggle. But Karen didn't laugh. She stepped back like she'd been shocked, her face twisted into disgust. Is he even allowed to do that? I stayed still. I always do when someone starts getting tense. But she wasn't done. She stepped in front of her daughter and hissed, loud enough for people to hear, "You're a grown man, painted gold, sitting still around kids. That's disgusting. You think I don't see what you're doing?" I didn't say a word. "It's part of the act." She snapped her fingers in front of me. "I'm talking to you, still." I didn't move. A couple nearby teens laughed nervously. One of them muttered, "Karen alert," that set her off. Karen spun around and shouted, "This man is pretending to be a statue so he can watch children." He just moved when my daughter got close. People turned. Conversations died. She turned to a bystander. "Call the police. I want this creep off the street." And someone did. The sirens arrived 5 minutes later. 2 officers approached. One was new, young, stiff, clearly unsure how to handle the situation. The other was Officer Daniels, who'd seen me around for years. He looked confused. "Elias," he asked, "you okay?" I broke character, slowly. Turned my head. "Apparently not." Karen jumped in. "You need to shut this down." He was leering at my daughter and making movements when she walked by. "It's disgusting." Daniels frowned. "Ma'am, he's been a permitted performer here for years." "Oh, so now he has official permission to harass kids." She snapped. "I'm calling the city myself." The younger cop whispered something to Daniels. Then, incredibly, they asked me for ID and issued me a disturbance warning. I was stunned, but I didn't even speak. I said, "I didn't do anything." Karen laughed. "Yeah, they always say that." I packed up. The crowd was silent. Some looked confused. Others avoided eye contact. One woman dropped a 20 in my can as I walked past. She whispered, "We know you're good. Don't let her win." But by Monday, my permit had been flagged pending review. I couldn't perform. No income, no therapy, No healing. Karen vanished. Her Instagram bio said child safety advocate. But the truth about Karen? It went way deeper than a random tantrum. And I was about to find it, starting with a person who recognized her face and whispered, "She's done this before." I was still numb when I packed away the golden suit that night. It lay limp in the plastic bin like it had died, like some part of me had. The fabric, once crisp and full of character, now looked like a discarded shell. I'd ironed it the same way every morning, touched it like it was armor. But tonight, it felt like defeat. And Karen, she was probably curled up in some overpriced throw blanket, sipping a cruelty-free latte, scrolling through Facebook like a hero. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling of my tiny apartment in the old brick building off Cleveland Street, listening to every creak and car passing by like my brain was begging for an enemy to fight. But the truth is, the enemy already won. The next morning, I went down to the plaza, not to perform, just to watch. I wore jeans and a hoodie, nothing flashy, just another nobody in the crowd. The stool where I usually sat was empty. A stain from my shoe polish still marked the spot like a ghost. A group of teenagers stopped by. One of them asked, "Where's the gold guy?" Another shrugged. "He got arrested or something. Heard he was creeping on kids." I clenched my jaw, my ears burned. That's how fast it spreads. Lies, poison, rumors, especially when they come from someone who screams the loudest. But I wasn't going down like that. Later that afternoon, I stopped by Lola's Cafe, the corner shop across from my usual spot. The owner, Mark, had always let me change in his back hallway, sometimes bringing me hot coffee on cold days. He looked up when I came in. "Hey, man, you good?" I nodded. "Sort of. You hear about Saturday?" He winced. "Yeah, Karen, right?" My heart jumped. "You know her?" Mark lowered his voice. "She used to live around here, cause problems for the ice cream guy 2 summers ago. Claimed his truck music was grooming children. She's nuts. Elias records everything. Screams about safety but really just wants to control everything." "Do you know her last name?" I asked. He hesitated, then said, "Not off the top of my head. But my niece works and records at the city permit office. You want me to ask her what name filed the complaint?" I nodded, gripping my coffee so hard I nearly cracked the cup. Mark made a call right there in front of me. "Hey, Jules, can you look up the name on that complaint from this weekend? The one about the street performer downtown." He gave me a thumbs up. "Give her an hour." I left the cafe with something I hadn't felt since Karen ruined me. Purpose. I didn't want revenge. Not at first. I just wanted my name cleared, my dignity. A chance to sit still again without being treated like a threat. But what I found next, it changed everything. An hour later, Mark texted, "Her name's Karen Whitmore. Lives up in the Belmont Hills HOA. Filed 3 formal complaints in the past year. 1 against you, 1 against an ice cream vendor, and 1 against a kid's puppet troupe at the community market. All claimed inappropriate interest in minors." I read the message 5 times. This wasn't about me. It was a pattern. And I wasn't going to be her next trophy that night. I sat on my fire escape with my laptop, a legal pad, and a shaky hand. I started digging. Public records, community forums, news blurbs. It didn't take long. Karen Whitmore was loud, the kind of woman who made noise everywhere she went, demanding change, pushing for neighborhood patrols, filming anyone who looked suspicious. Her YouTube channel had 2,000 subscribers and a banner that read, "Protecting our children from wolves in plain sight." She wasn't a mother on a mission. She was a self-declared vigilante. Her videos were mostly rants, badly edited, filmed in her car or on sidewalks while she followed people with her phone out. One video caught my eye. Gold freaking downtown. How he tricked everyone, uploaded to days ago. I clicked. There I was, frozen on my stool, mid-pose. Her voice overlaying the footage like a prosecutor at trial. This man sits still for hours, watching families walk by. Children stop. He waits, then moves. Subtle, calculated movements designed to engage trust. Don't be fooled. Predators come in all forms. I reported him. He's under investigation. Under investigation. That was a lie. There were no charges. Just a warning. But to her followers, it didn't matter. The comments were brutal, disgusting. Shouldn't be allowed near kids. Lock him up. He's clearly grooming the community with performance art. I slammed my laptop shut. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about clearing my name. Karen needed to be stopped. Because if she could do this to me, a veteran, a performer, someone with permits and community support, then she could do it to anyone. The next day, I went to see Renee, a lawyer I'd met years ago at a city arts fundraiser. She'd helped me once when a drunk college kid knocked over my tip bucket and I got blamed. I laid out everything, the video, the false accusations, the community damage. She sat back, arms crossed. This isn't just slander, Elias. It's targeted harassment. If we can prove a pattern of false claims and that her statements hurt your livelihood, we have grounds for a civil suit. I blinked. You think I could win? Elias, she said, I think you could set a precedent. The night I started documenting everything, photos, video stills, social media links, income loss, the revoke permit. Renee helped me draft a cease and desist letter for Karen's YouTube channel and served her a notice of intent to sue. I didn't expect her to back down, but I didn't expect what happened next either. Because within 48 hours, her HOA turned against her. It started with a message. Hi, I saw what the woman did to you. She's on our HOA board and has been abusing her position for years. Want to talk? And in a mouse and another, Karen tried to report our Halloween display for being satanic. She's obsessed with power. Glad someone's standing up to her. And then a big one. I'm a former friend of Karen Whitmore. She fakes complaints to feel important. She's got a vendetta against street people, artists, anything not normal. If you need statements, I'll testify. I wasn't just a street performer anymore. I was a catalyst. A mirror exposing the monster behind the crusader mask. Mark called me a few days later. You're not going to believe this. Karen's been suspended from the HOA board. They found out she lied about several complaints. The city hadn't reissued my permit yet, but the narrative was shifting. I went back downtown, not to perform, just to walk. A few familiar faces smiled. A little girl pointed at me, tugging her mom's arm. Look, Mommy, the gold man. Her mom smiled. He's taking a break, but we love him. That nearly broke me. I nodded, tipping my invisible fedora. But I wasn't done. Karen had built a platform on fear, lies, and performative outrage. Now I was going to dismantle it, one exposed truth at a time. And I had the perfect plan to do it at the next city council meeting, where she was scheduled to speak. I showed up to the city council meeting 15 minutes early, not because I was nervous, but because I knew she'd be there. Karen Whitmore had her usual uniform on, tailored beige blazer, pastel lipstick, an expression like someone had just insulted her child's IQ. She walked in with 3 printed folders, lips tight, eyes scanning the room for someone to dominate. She didn't even recognize me out of the gold paint. I was just another man in a gray button-up shirt, black jeans, hair tied back. I watched her from the back row as she handed her materials to the clerk with a smug little nod. She was there to propose an ordinance banning unauthorized street displays and predatory performers. Her words. I'd already read the agenda item on mine, but hearing it aloud was different. Agenda item 1 for C. Petition from Karen Whitmore, Belmont Hills HOA, regarding public performer regulations in downtown zones. She stood, smiled at the microphone like it was a pageant judge, and began. Council members, I want to thank you for your time. I'm here today not just as a homeowner and community representative, but as a mother. A few heads nodded automatically. Karen knew her audience. She continued, over the last year, I've witnessed a troubling trend of street performers using their craft to engage in what I believe is predatory behavior, particularly toward children. I recently encountered one such man downtown who posed as a golden statue, sitting eerily still, only to move when my daughter got close. It alarmed me deeply. There it was, the lie, delivered in her sugar-slick tone. Karen clutched her folder, like it held the Constitution. I believe we must implement a citywide policy requiring performers to undergo background checks and receive monthly behavioral assessments. If they wish to remain in public zones, we must protect our children. A beat of silence. Councilmember Ortiz, who'd seen me perform many times, cleared her throat. Ms. Whitmore, are there formal charges or complaints substantiating this concern? Karen smiled politely. Not charges yet. But if we wait for something awful to happen, it'll be too late. Councilmember Benson shifted in his seat. Are you referring to Elias Hart, the gold performer? Karen's lips tightened, but she nodded. Yes, that's the individual I witnessed. Now it was my turn. I stood slowly. The council chair acknowledged me. Mr. Hart, you're recognized for public comment. I walked to the microphone. My heart thudded once, then steadied. I took a breath. My name is Elias Hart. I'm a licensed performer with the city. I've spent 7 years creating a safe, joyful experience for tourists and families through silent art. I've never received a single credible complaint until Ms. Whitmore's. Karen turned in her seat. Her eyes finally focused. She knew who I was now. I continued. Her accusations weren't just damaging, they were false. I have video from witnesses, a spotless record, and decades of service behind me. Including as a U.S. Army combat medic, my art saved my life after war. And now she wants to criminalize it because she doesn't like it. I paused. Let it land. Karen, Whitmore has a history of filing complaints to boost her image against food vendors, artists, and performers, all without merit. If this council listens to fear instead of facts, what happens next? Who gets silenced after me? The room was quiet. Councilmember Ortiz looked at me, then at Karen. Ms. Whitmore, would you care to respond? Karen stood, visibly flushed. I don't care if Mr. Hart's a veteran or a magician. I saw what I saw. Parents need to trust that public spaces are safe. He was watching children, and people laughed like it was normal. I leaned into the mic, calm, cold. What you saw was a man in gold paint making a little girl smile. You turned it into a crime because it made you uncomfortable. That's not protection. That's projection. Gasps. One quiet laugh. Karen tried to interrupt, but the chair gavelled. Ms. Whitmore, you've had your turn. The motion to consider her ordinance failed unanimously. She gathered her folders and left without a word. I thought that would be the end. But Karen wasn't done. That night, her YouTube channel posted a new video. Veteran street performer lies. To city council, they fell for it. She called me manipulative. Claimed my calm demeanor was rehearsed. Sociopathic. Said I had military training that made him dangerous. It got 12,000 views in 2 days. But something changed. The comments weren't all hers anymore. People pushed back. You sound paranoid. This guy's been making kids smile for years. Chill. Karen, you're losing it. And then the strikes hit. YouTube removed the video. A week later, her HOA formally expelled her from the board. And then someone leaked her email thread, the one where she bragged about cleaning up downtown performers. Before next year's mayoral race, she wasn't protecting kids. She was building a political campaign on fear. With her credibility gone and her platform shrinking, I started performing again. The city reissued my permit. I got a letter from the council thanking me for my poise and artistic contribution to downtown. But I changed something. I added a small placard to my setup. To the one who tried to silence me. You gave me a louder stage. Tourists loved it. Kids still tried to make me blink. Locals dropped in just to shake my hand. But there was one moment I'll never forget. An older woman in a gray coat walked up, placed $1 in my can, and whispered, "My son's a vet too. What you do out here, it matters. Don't ever stop." I didn't move, but my heart did. A month later, I got an anonymous envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just one sheet of paper inside, a screenshot, Karen Whitmore, smiling awkwardly at a podium. Below, bold black font, Karen Whitmore announces, "Candidacy for school board president. Our kids deserve safe communities." I stared at it. No note, no threat, just the headline. The message was clear. She wasn't done. She was just changing tactics. But this time, neither was I, because she gave me something I never had before. Not just a voice, a mission dot, and the next time she opened her mouth to manipulate the world, I'd already be standing there, painted gold, with the whole city watching. I didn't plan to get political, but when the same woman who nearly destroyed my life decided she wanted to protect children by running the school board, I realized silence wasn't just dangerous. It was complicity. Karen Whitmore's campaign launched with all the fanfare of a suburban PR machine, lawn signs, buzzwords, and the same empty smile that had a vendetta. Her slogan, "Save schools," clean streets, strong values, clean streets. That one hit me hardest. Because I knew what she really meant. Erase anyone who doesn't fit her vision of normal. I knew her history, complaints, false accusations, manipulation. But the public, they saw a polished, concerned mother promising change. They didn't see what she did to people like me. And unless I made them see it, she might actually win. The week before the first candidate forum, I reached out to a local reporter named Ava Moreno. She'd once written a beautiful profile on downtown street artists. She remembered me. I told her everything. Showed her the cease and desist letter, her YouTube rants, the city council footage, even the leaked HOA emails where Karen called families in lower-income neighborhoods reckless breeders. Ava's eyes went wide. People need to know this, she said. But she'll try to spin it, then I won't give her the chance. I said, let her lie. I'll be right there. She published the story the day before the debate. Headline: Candidate Karen Whitmore's war on street performers, art, or abuse of power. The article laid it all bare: her fake complaints, her obsession with control, the real reason she targeted me. Ava even ended it with a quote from me. I sat still for 7 years. But when someone like Karen stands up with a microphone full of lies, sitting still becomes dangerous. The piece went viral. Karen went quiet for 2 whole days. Not a single video, not a single rant, just silence. But when she finally reappeared, she came back swinging. The school board debate was held at the local middle school auditorium. It was packed. Parents, teachers, students, reporters. I sat in the back, not as a performer, not as a target, but as a citizen. Karen took the stage in cream slacks and a pearl necklace. She smiled wide, waving like she hadn't just been outed in a citywide expose. I believe, she began, that we live in dangerous times, when truth is blurred by social media and predators pose as heroes. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. I've been attacked in the press for trying to protect children. Why? Because I called out behavior that made me uncomfortable. But discomfort is a warning sign, not an overreaction. A few people clapped. But far fewer than she expected. When it was the moderator's turn for audience questions, Ava raised her hand. She got picked. Ms. Whitmore, she said, do you still stand by your accusation that Mr. Elias Hart was exhibiting predatory behavior, despite having no criminal record, a city permit, and video evidence proving otherwise? Karen paused. For once, she looked nervous. I never used the word predator. I simply raised concerns. But your video literally labeled him a groomer in gold paint, Ava pressed. And you filed similar complaints against at least 3 other performers. Are you saying they were all unsafe? Karen's voice rose slightly. I'm saying I follow my instincts. That's when the moderator chimed in. The public deserves facts, not fear. Ms. Whitmore, we verified the allegations were false. Do you wish to apologize to Mr. Hart? Karen's mouth opened, then closed. No, she finally said. Because I was doing what I thought was right. Double quote silence. The kind that swallows a room. After the forum, I stepped outside. I didn't want applause. I just wanted air. But something strange happened. A man tapped my shoulder. Late 30s, flannel shirt, calloused hands. He looked uncomfortable. Hey, are you the gold guy? I nodded. My kid loves you. You scared the hell out of me the first time. Thought you were a mannequin. But man, the way you just sit there and let kids laugh, that's good stuff, real good. I smiled. Thank you. He looked down. And what she did, that ain't right. My sister's autistic. She don't talk, but she paints. Some people think she's weird. Karen's the kind who'd ban her from public just to feel clean. Then he did something unexpected. He hugged me. Karen's campaign didn't die overnight, but it bled out fast. A week after the debate, 2 major donors pulled their support. Another mother posted screenshots of Karen mocking special needs students in a private Facebook group. Her safety crusade was exposed as classist, ableist, and performative. She tried to spin it, to post redemption videos, crying in her car, blaming the media, even suggesting I was a military plant sent to discredit concerned mothers. But nobody was listening anymore. Even her own daughter, now a teenager, posted a TikTok saying, my mom doesn't care about kids. She cares about control. That hit harder than anything I'd said. and it went viral. Election night came. Karen lost, not just by a little, but by a landslide. She placed dead last. Nearly 5,000 write-in votes went to the Golden Man. No joke. I didn't run. I didn't want to. But that night, I returned to my corner on Harrison and Main. I wore the gold paint again, the same vintage suit, the same stillness, only now. I wasn't just a statue. I was a symbol. People came in waves. Tourists, yes, but also neighbors, teachers, veterans, kids holding handmade signs that said, "We gold guy." Someone played music, someone else brought a boom mic, and just before sunset, a little girl walked up, not Karen's daughter, someone else. She placed a small, glitter-covered sign at my feet. It read, "You made us feel safe." 3 months passed. The gold paint dried smoother each morning. The crowds returned like they'd never left. Tips were generous, kids laughed again, and the whispers of "wasn't he the guy Karen tried to cancel?" turned into waves and cheers. I was whole again, but I hadn't seen her, not since election night, when her face disappeared from the headlines and her name stopped trending. For all the wrong reasons. Part of me thought she'd moved. Another part hoped I'd never have to look into those cold eyes again. But I was wrong. She came back, and this time, she didn't come to yell. She came to beg. It was a gray Thursday, unusually quiet for a weekday. I had just taken my place on the stool, already in character, still as stone, when I spotted her. The blonde bob was longer now. She wore dark sunglasses and a hoodie pulled up over her head, like she was trying not to be noticed. But I noticed. You never forget the person who tried to destroy you. Karen stood at the edge of the plaza, hands tucked into her coat sleeves. For 5 minutes, she just watched. Didn't move, didn't speak. Then she stepped closer, one slow step at a time. I didn't react. I held the pose. I waited. She stopped about 10 feet away and just stared. Finally, in a low voice, not for the crowd, but just for me, she said, "I didn't know you were a real person." The words were barely above a whisper, but they hit like thunder. "I thought you were some kind of act, some trick." She looked down at the ground, almost ashamed. "You didn't deserve what I did." I stayed still, because stillness was power. "I lost everything," she said. "My campaign, my friends, even my daughter. She won't speak to me." There was a pause. Then, to my disbelief, she stepped closer and said the words I never expected. "Can you help me?" My eye twitched. A break in the mask. A flicker of disbelief. She noticed. Her voice cracked. "You're the only one people listen to now. They trust you. If you forgave me publicly. If you said I misunderstood you." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. She wanted my forgiveness, not for healing, but for optics. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. I stood up slowly. The crowd murmured, rare for me to break character during the day. I stepped forward, so close she had to tilt her head up to see my eyes. And I said, calm, measured, brutal, "You didn't ruin me. You revealed yourself." Her mouth opened, just slightly. I leaned in. "I don't need to forgive you to move on, but you'll need to forgive yourself. And that's going to take a lot longer than a public apology." Then I turned, stepped back to my stool, and froze again. The moment held, golden, painful, final. Karen didn't say another word. She turned and walked away. No camera, no dramatic exit. Just silence. I never saw her again. I heard rumors. She moved to another state, took up spiritual healing, tried to reinvent herself. But in this city, the name Karen Whitmore is synonymous with control gone wrong. And mine is still whispered through downtown streets like something sacred, the Golden Man. 6 months later, something incredible happened. The city announced the first annual Living Art Festival, a celebration of street performers, hosted downtown, with a special spotlight on artists who inspire community. I was asked to speak. Me, the man who used to sit silent. At first, I wasn't sure. Then I remembered what Ava said during her article launch. Some stories don't need to be loud. They just need to be heard. So I took the stage, dressed in my golden suit, still quiet. Then I stepped up to the microphone and said this: there will always be people who hate what they don't understand, who fear what they can't control, who confuse silence with threat, stillness with danger. But you don't fight those people with volume. You fight them with truth, with art. With stillness that refuses to be erased. I sat here, on this corner, for 7 years. But the moment I stood up, not to perform, but to speak, that's when you all listened. So thank you for listening, for seeing, for reminding the world that even statues have a soul. The applause didn't explode. It rose, like a wave that started small but grew until it filled the whole street. I didn't cry. But when a little girl in a homemade gold jacket ran up and hugged my legs, I almost did. The night, I stayed out past sunset. The streetlights reflected off my gold paint like halos. A jazz busker played across the plaza. Tourists lingered. Locals laughed. And as I sat still under the city glow, I realized something Karen thought she could take away. My platform. She didn't realize she was building it. With every lie, with every scream. With every false accusation. She made me louder. She made me visible. She made me real. So if you're out there, watching, listening, struggling to be seen, remember this. You don't need to shout. You just need to stand up. Even if you do it silently, even if you do it in gold. Thank you for watching. If you've ever had someone try to ruin your reputation, drop your story in the comments. We want to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next time someone screams pervert at a street artist, we'll be watching.